Now's the time when I wish I had my third monitor.
You just have two, and then in like your laptop, or? Oh.
All right, testing the audio here. Yep, there we go. Audio works. unmute that. Okay. Let me just make sure again that my audio is working well. Yep, it is, because I can hear myself on my phone. Okay. Um, Hello, friends. This is Matt Goins, and this is the January Lunch and Learn for the WiscWeb service. Thank you all for joining us today. I sent out the email earlier today, and that had the agenda in it. It's an important agenda, but it's light. We have updates coming that we just want to touch on a little bit, and then we have some time to chat about some other things um, as well. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on was a communication that we had sent out last week about a change happening to the UW theme in relation to headlines and the sentence casing for them. Um, we had sent out a message saying that all all headlines within the theme were going to now be changed to be normal sentence casing, not all capitalized. Um, After chatting with UW marketing and looking at the test site, the test for the UW theme, um, we saw that that was actually an error. That that's not the case for all of the changes for it. So I think this went out in the email that I sent out, but we just wanted to show you. So this is where the theme is currently being tested at, and you can see these are the headlines that are showing up. So usually these things would be capitalized based on the heading value. So now the way the theme is going to work is, page and um, H2, H1 and H2s, those are no longer going to be capitalized. They're going to be normal sentence casing there. Um, but the one thing that we did notice and we clarified on was within a text area, if you use an H3 or an H4, a heading 3 or a heading 4, those will still be capitalized. Now, H3s and H4s for page element headings, so things like the post list, the um, the documents list, there are a few others that are escaping me at the moment. Those will be normal sentence casing because of the fact that they are being applied to sort of theme titling, but in line within the actual text editor itself, those H3s and those H4s, those will still be capitalized. So we wanted to make sure that we clarified that because it is different than what we had said. So we just wanted to make sure that we did specifically clarify that. So that's the one big thing that's coming with. That's one of the big things. I don't know if there are that many other big things coming with the UW theme that are forward facing that you all would see there, but that's the one where we wanted to make sure we clarified that. So I don't know that there's anything else really to say about that, other than just to make sure that you're all aware of the fact that that's the case.
Matt, it looks like we have a question in
Yes.
the chat.
Yep.
Can you provide background regarding why the change is taking place?
Yeah. So Jenna will probably be able to. She's been chatting with them a little bit more than I am, but in essence, the reasoning for this is it has caused confusion and in the past, and um, essentially that confusion is when a person would, let's go to pages for example. Let's go to my training site to demonstrate this. So when a person would go in and create a brand new page, because of the way that pages had worked in the past, you would create a page and title it something like testing page. And I'll click Save Draft. Click Save Draft. Thank you. And then I'll click the preview. And even though I have typed it out in normal sentence casing, when you look at the actual delivered page, it capitalizes this. And this becomes very misleading because as people were building out their pages, they would start to do this. Oops. Instead, they would just go ahead and type things in all caps because of the fact that it's the way that it would look on the other side. The problem is the theme is styling it like this, but the background, the code, the actual text that appears is still this. It's the proper sentence casing of testing page like this. And the issue that brings up is, well, two issues that I can think of off the top of my head is, one is just readability. All caps can sometimes become an issue for just general readability on a page. And then the other more prominent issue is if you were to do this and this becomes your title of your page, when a person who has a vision disability and is using a screen reader software to view your site and have that text read back to them, a screen reader will sometimes struggle with reading this as testing page and instead could read it back to you as an acronym or an initialism, and so it will spell out the word rather than say the word. So that is the primary impetus for this change, is to just make it more accessible for our audiences. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Back down to my notes. Jenna, anything else from the theme that would be forward-facing, the theme release that's going to be coming?
I think that's the major one. I think, let us know if that recent update that we sent out regarding the H3 headings doesn't make sense or you need any more clarity. And we'd be happy to kind of review it again with you here.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so theme release I think is tentatively set for January 21st?
Yes.
Okay, so we will be...
morning of the 21st.
Go ahead.
We have a question in a couple questions in the chat.
So
based on what you said, do you advise against trying to keep things like the top nav in all caps by retyping them in all caps now? I'm not sure I understand that question.
So in current, the menus are also all caps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I would say you don't want those in all caps. I guess so we have Adam Hilsmeyer is on the line with us as well because he was going to provide some information later on. But Adam, from a UX standpoint, from that accessibility standpoint, I guess what would your response be to that of styling, like if you were to put things in all caps because that's sort of like a style preference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Just so I'm clear, we're talking like in H1 or in H2 or in H3 as to like, whether you should make the choice to use all caps or sentence case or title case or camel case or whatever you have.
Yeah, right. So in this case, yep. Brendan's asking like about the menus now specifically because this change for headers will also affect any menus as well.
Yep. For the exact reasons that Matt suggested just earlier, readability is more difficult with caps. Is it easy to read something that says home or menu by itself in caps? Yeah, but when you combine those things with a long list of things that are in caps, it does start affecting the user experience and the cognitive accessibility of a page. So we usually make the recommendation to not caps long phrases, long words together. One, because, the accessibility question, and you also get down the path of like, are you shouting this thing all of a sudden, such as would you type in all caps in a text to somebody? No, I think it's more expected that a lowercase or a sentence case or a title case setup will help with the readability of your site. And we frame this in the way that, like, what's the thing you want to achieve? You want people to be able to consume your content or your visuals in an easy way. So how can we go about that? And all caps is not the best path forward there. Does that help?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Helps me at least to help clarify it too. I guess at the end of the day, I would always recommend against using all caps unless it is something that is specifically needed by the content that you are delivering. So, acronyms, initialisms,
Sure.
things of that nature.
Yep. Yeah, those choices are made in context as
Yep.
well for
Yep.
those exact reasons that you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we also have a couple of things being pointed out to us in the chat as well, that the utility links menu up here in the upper right, and then also the breadcrumbs are still appearing in caps. My assumption is that there is a design reason behind that, but we're gonna have to follow up with marketing to find out what that is, and we'll clarify once that's done there.
It looks like Jackie had a continuation sort of some of the questions around the headers, and so will the headers still be capitalized? And this theme change only changes page titles, question mark. So it really depends on what headers you're looking at. As Matt said, there's differences between the headers for like text blocks. So headers you've typed into a text block and then highlighted and made into like an H2 or an H3. So H3 headings, as we mentioned, will be in all caps if it's in a text block. However, if the H3 heading appears in like a page element headline, usually those are going to be unstyled, like they won't have the capitalization any longer. Let's see.
So I brought up the test kitchen sink of elements as well.
Yeah,
So
that's a really good page.
here's an example. So the featured content block currently all caps. Future will not be all caps. But in this case right here, here is no, that's not it. I'm trying to find one that would be still all caps in this example. Nope.
On that page, there might not be any
No.
maybe buttons.
I don't see the post listing on this.
Yeah.
Because that's the today.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the buttons
Like
are,
the
but those
buttons
might be typed in. Those might be that way. So I'd have to. I don't know what the code is behind that. So
Nick Weaver from UMark did mention that they will still appear in caps on buttons.
Okay.
And Brendan, I will make sure that our KB documentation is updated so that it's clear that breadcrumbs and then utility menu, as Trina pointed out, still appear to be all in caps.
So down here, these are all still in caps as well. The menu headers. So, yep, we'll keep poking at it.
The footer titles, headings, kind of.
Yeah, the footer menu titles.
And then just a continuation on Jackie's question earlier. So it's not just affecting page titles, as you can see if you scroll all the way up, Matt, to the very top of the page. The actual site title is changed as well. And the main menu is changed. So it's not just the page headings, but the menu and the site title look to be affected as well.
Yep. Yeah, way more conversation in that than I thought. It's good. Okay. Any other questions? Again, just keep throwing them in there. But yeah, So again, theme update January 21st. We'll send out an email that just lets everybody know what the changes are, and hopefully we'll have some clarification on these things as well to put in on that. Let's see. Next item on my list was we will be also updating WordPress core in the near future. Um, 5.6 will be the new version. We're going to be testing that out. There are a few things that are administrative that we have to make sure that we are aware of. But aside from that, it's more an internal change than anything else. But we'll be poking at that as well. Um, let's see, Jim, your question. That's a. I would say that's a question where I would recommend you reach out to marketing on. Um, the style decisions are being made there, and so we can't really speak to why. Um, so I would say reach out to marketing and have them um, sort of address that question with them. We don't really have the answer as to the why. So WordPress core, we'll be updating that. That will be, I think that's February when we're going to update to that. We have to test that, and then we're going to be in a change freeze soon with the start of the semester. So yeah, I think mid February, Jenna. First week, second week.
All right, say that again.
The core update that we were going to release, is that mid
Yeah,
or early February?
we're looking at February 9th
Okay,
tentatively.
so early February. Okay,
Hmm.
I guess early February in a 28-day month. Okay. Um, we did have an open lab right before the sort of the holiday break time. We had two of them actually. We used Blackboard for those. We are going to do more open labs coming up, but we're trying to figure out the scheduling for those. Right now, what we're looking at doing is doing one open lab a month for 2 hours, and um, uh, right now we're looking at doing those on Wednesdays. So tentatively, our next Open Lab date is going to be January 27th. We're testing out technology still, so that was one of the things I said for the first one that we did virtually. Was we were kind of poking at the different technologies to find a quote unquote best one to use. So for the first one, we used Blackboard Collaborate. It worked well. We liked it. We thought it did okay. There were just a few things that we struggled with, but it worked. It worked for what we needed it for. We're going to be testing as a team Microsoft Teams next week to figure out if that will be something we want to give a shot at moving forward. Um, Teams now has breakout rooms as well, so we're basically going to try and test the things that we need to test to figure out if it'll be a good way to deliver those open labs moving forward. But we are going to keep delivering them. Um, we know that folks like the I guess the ability to just pop in and pop out. Let's see, Colleen. I believe mornings are when we're looking at right now, tentatively. Um, and the reason for that is, unfortunately, from a team standpoint, mornings is when we will work best because we have another person we can throw into the mix. Our help desk liaison, Dan, will also be a part of the open labs, so it just works out better that way. So we're looking at Wednesday mornings now moving forward. We'll kind of move the dates around. We're doing one late this month. We might throw one into the middle of next month. So, but I will, once we've solidified what technology we're going to use, I will send out another email with a sign up sheet for people to take a look at. Just throw your name into a time slot, come on into the link, whatever that link might be, and you'll have an eager group of WiscWeb and UX folks to help you out. I should also say we do have the user experience group. They do have folks who are coming over. So Adam, who you heard from previously, he's one of those team members. He was there at the previous one, and we'll have a couple of other folks from that group as well. So we'll have a nice array of expertise to throw at you whenever you have questions about certain things. So again, tentatively January 27th is going to be the next one, but I'll get the schedule out to you all soon-ish. And then the last thing to touch on is the last thing of my agenda to touch on is the WiscWeb user survey. I've been talking about this over a number of the previous Lunch and Learns. The WiscWeb user survey is imminent. We are in the final, I guess, approval stage of the questions and the general user experience of the survey itself. Once we have nailed that down, we're going to send the survey out. And essentially, the survey is for you guys. It's for you all to give us information to help us, I guess, know how we're doing, but also to know where you want us to go in relation to, things that we can add, improve, update, change, whatever it might be, so that we have sort of a feedback from you as to a blueprint for our future endeavors. So I really do hope that we get a good turnout for the survey, because it will provide us with quite a bit of information from that standpoint. That being said, that's it for the actual agenda portion of our little shindig. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and throw them on into the chat area there. But one of the things, given that we had a light agenda today, I wanted to kind of throw in some additional information. I guess this would be Steve Jobs. Oh, and one more thing, kind of moment. You all heard Adam talk earlier. I asked Adam to kind of jump into our Google Hangout because coming back from break, and even before break, some of the questions that we had leading up to the Open Lab, a lot of people are asking about user experience, search engine optimization, page setup, content setup, that kind of stuff. What kind of advice, what kind of strategies do we have? This is one of the things that is right up Adam's expertise. So I asked him to kind of come in and give a brief conversation about his perspective of this, and then share any information that he might have or want to share in relation to this. So, Adam, the floor is yours.
Sure. Let me ask first off, were there any specific questions that I could directly answer about it? If not, I can also talk in general about...
One of the things that comes up pretty often is, the bigger one is how do you move up your Google search results type thing. But really, how do you strategize how do you enter and lay your content out so that it can improve your searchability?
Sure. Yeah. So the answer to how do I improve my Google search results is you pay for it. Why? Because Google is a paid tool. And I think we should, think about that as we approach what we do. Should you pay for, improved search results? I don't think necessarily, because the way Google is going to find your content here, especially if you use a Wisc website, is pretty customized for us. Certainly there are users that come from outside of the university to use content, but from what I've seen in analytics, a lot of the users that use our content, and I'm saying the collective UW-Madison collection of content that we all have together, are folks on campus, and they will usually search things in reference to UW-Madison and fill in the blank of what is the thing that I am looking for, which usually does a lot of the heavy lifting for our SEO. So that said, are there things you can do to improve how Google and other search engines, I wouldn't say just Google because people do use other search engines, but the majority of what we're talking about is Google. Are there things you can improve to make your content more findable, searchable, and easy to use? Yeah, absolutely. If you use WiscWeb, if you use the WiscWeb service and not like a customization of it, they are doing at least 50 to 60% of this work already for you by creating spaces that are accessible, by creating things like tagging sites in English language, by doing providing tools like what's the sitemap generator that we have that's available for us?
It's the Google XML sitemaps.
Thank you. By doing things like that, they've already set you up for broad success with your website and the ability for people to find that website. There are lots of content things that you can do, and I'm with the Center for User Experience. We're in the process of updating and creating and keying up some guide documentation that folks across campus can use when it comes to the concept of content design. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is how to design your web content in a way that is going to make it findable, usable, and easy to cut through. And I don't think we quite have the thing ready yet, but once we do, we will share that with the WiscWeb team. And if you think of your website as content that you are designing for people to find, there are certain steps that you can take. Some of the basics are plain language. We talked about navigation and headings. Those are the things that you can improve on your site to help it be findable. And how do you improve those things? You present them in language that the user uses to find those things. So instead of using technical content and jargon to describe what you might think it is, is there a way to find out how the user describes the things that you are talking about on your website? And when you match the content that you put up with the things that the user is looking for, that equals search engine optimization. You have optimized your content so when people search for it, they can find it. And in this content design guide, we'll have tips such as those. You don't have to really worry about URL structure with your Wisc website, because unless you are creating, I don't know, whatever your URL is, you're at wisc.edu, and you're probably pretty good to start with. There'll be exceptions in there. Let's see. There's marketing techniques that you can use that you might not think of marketing techniques, but certainly things like creating cross-links from one page to another on your website. So when people land on a page, they can continue the path to find other content on your site, because maybe the thing that they found wasn't exactly what they wanted. You can create inbound links from things like social media and emails and other websites across campus. When you do those things, Google starts picking up on that and starts, using their AI that they have for SEO and drawing up like, what's the intent? If people are landing on a page and then they're going to another page on your website, Google says, oh, this person intends to use this, and they're seeing a pattern that like this content is all connected together. Therefore, search results or like findability and content is being accessed and used as the user is expecting to do that. So yeah, I don't want to go too deep into anything, but simple, page titles and summary content. If you haven't thought about summary content on your page and using the excerpt field on your WiscWeb page, use that thing. Because when you go to Google something, what a search result looks like. You get a title of the page. That's that page title thing we're talking about. You get a quick summary of what's on that page, and you get X amount of space to fill in that, and then you get the URL. And if you are doing your work as an owner of a website to make those things clear, and a user searches and sees that search result, the potential that they will click through is much higher if it's very clear that the thing I found is what's displayed on my search result page. And making it very clear as humanly possible will increase your search engine optimization. I don't know if I'll go too deeper than that right now, unless there's other specific things, or if there's questions based on that folks want to ask.
Yeah, actually, I just I put in on my screen so people can kind of see it. I was in light of this conversation, I was looking to create some things, or not create some things, find some information about this for folks. And one of the things that Adam just said was just, there are a number of things that play into what Google will return in regards to search results. And so this is just one example of the title, keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it relevant and to the point. The URL also matters in your search results. So you'll hear from us a lot of times, a lot of the conversations that I've had with folks where they have this very elaborate URL that they want to use because it's a marketing thing and that's what they want to use. And the question will always come back, yeah, but what is a user going to want to look for? How easy is it going to be for a user to type that kind of thing in? So you want to keep it also simple and relevant. The thing that Adam was just touching on is the snippet function, which is something that Google's algorithms use to deliver this little bit of text beneath here. Now, he mentioned the excerpt field, and the excerpt field is one of the things that does show up when a search result happens. So, quick, I'm going to edit this page and bounce all the way down to our excerpt field way down here. And this should be on for people by default. But I want to show you some differences of what Google will show when you type in different types of search parameters. So first thing I'll do is I'll just type in WiscWeb. And you'll notice that the snippet that comes back this is the value that's from the excerpt field. It is that WiscWeb, formerly WiscWeb CMS, is a web content, etc. But now if I do WiscWeb site, it's an entirely different snippet that gets returned there. And so Google is going to grab what it thinks is the most appropriate text from your site to display as the snippet. So this is one of those things where when I have this conversation in training, when I have this conversation in Open Labs, the excerpt helps, the site title helps, the site URL helps, and the text on the page is one of the things that is most helpful. Content is king when it comes to what Google is going to consume when it gets to your site, because there's more content than just title and URL. So the more that it can consume, the more that it can use as part of the algorithm up here when it uses that for the search results there. So that's one of those things that you just have to kind of keep, like I typed in there, Google can't really be played. Its algorithms are pretty, I guess sophisticated would be the way to put it. They're sophisticated. So you kind of just have to do best effort and use everything at your disposal to continue to move yourself up the Google search results. Let's see.
I would just iterate again that, these tips and stuff, you can go to Google's website and they'll tell you like what their SEO tactics are. And are they going to reveal all their secrets? No, because again, they're a business machine designed to make money, and they're not going to give away their secrets on how to do that, but they do provide us with some suggestions on how to do that. I would also say that these are kind of like, if you were to break out like level 1 and level 2 tactics, these are all like really basic tactics, things that you can do. There are some programming things that you can do, such as structured content and diving deeper into how the formatting of your site will do. But I would say I don't recommend exploring those things yet, unless you're at like developer level skills. Like, get the basics down, because that's going to give you a lot more success a lot quicker. Also,
So,
always add alt text in your images
oh
too.
yeah, that's also a thing. It's a good point there. Is like I was saying, everything is a part of Google's algorithm. Even the alt text,
Yeah.
even that text that that describes things. That's all metadata and it's all consumed. So titles of images, those types of things are important as well. So just kind of make sure that you're looking at all aspects of your content, not just the stuff that appears on the page. Um, so one other thing that I wanted to touch on, and I had a question come in to me specifically about Google Search Console, and so this was one of the things that I wanted to touch on because it is something that I do show a little bit when I'm doing my Google Analytics trainings. Is the Google Search Console is a nice thing to integrate with your site for a couple of reasons. One is it just allows you to sort of um, have a dashboard for your site performance, quote unquote, when it comes to Google's search functionality. I haven't delved that deep into the Google search dashboard aspect of it. Um, so what Google Search Console is it's just one more Google service. It's one more thing that you can do to, I guess, apply some way of looking at the way that your site is used and making decisions based off of that. So um, we do have knowledge-based documentation out there for those of you who aren't using this. So, you can add a Google Search Console to your site. It's a pretty quick process. You would go in and you would set it based on your URL prefix here. You would click continue. At a certain point in there, you will get a content equals, and then there will be a ID value in there. And you will take that ID value and you will bring it to your customize area, your appearance customize area, and it goes into your Google Services area. It's this long number that goes in there. And then once it's in there, you can go back to your Google custom search and verify it. I wonder if I can. Please hold while I see if I have it attached to my account. Um, Hold that thought on the training question because I can have thoughts. Okay, so anyways, this is the Google Search Console dashboard. There are a number of there's a lot of information here. Just like analytics, it's an overwhelming amount of information. There, you can attach your sitemap to it. So one of the things that Adam was talking about at the very beginning is that Google XML sitemap function. You can take a sitemap and apply that to the Google Search Console. That will help Google crawl your site better because it gives Google basically the structure of your site there. You have the ability to remove any pages from Google search if you need to. We've had a few conversations with this. I don't know how effective or efficient this is. I don't know that it's worked in the past. But we don't usually have any need for removing any content. But we do have some folks where, you've changed a site URL, you've deleted a page, things like that, and it's still showing up in your search results or like in your 404 error reports. You might want to come in and remove that from the Google Search console so that it can be sort of ignored, and that way that can help Google crawl your site better to find the right content rather than the content that was sort of, I guess, archived within its algorithms there. Let's see. There are other aspects of this as well, but the one thing that I did want to show, and the one reason why I like using the Google Search Console in relation to the site is when you are logged into your Google Analytics, there is a process that you can follow where if you went to Acquisition and Search Console, you can actually use Search Console with Analytics to see. I'm looking at the wrong site there, but I'll go out to our service site and do that. So this is in relation to what Adam was talking about earlier, which is, site titles, the page titles themselves, the page URLs, I should say, and the content on the page. And the Google Search Console in connection with your Google Analytics will tell you what queries people are using from Google to get to your site. Like how often is a your URL appearing in that search, and then how often are people clicking on it based on that search there. So you'll get two there. You'll get how often does your site appear when that search term is used? How often are clicks happening when it appears there? So again, that's a way for you to take a look at data and make decisions based on that data that you're receiving there. So, I think that was what I wanted to talk about in relation to the question that we got earlier today. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to add about that myself. I don't know if anybody else on the line has anything they'd like to add in relation to that. Hearing none. So any other questions about that? I did throw in the URL for the Center for User Experience, just so people can be aware of that group. We always talk about them. They are an amazing resource for just just the discussions, period, but also we've started to rely on them a little bit as well as just the next set of eyes, and having someone who is really not attached to what the content is look at something and say that works, that doesn't work. That's kind of one of the things that the guide will help provide as well. Is here is a strategy that does work. Here is something that might not work. So, any other questions from the chat, from my viewers? Jenna, anything you want to throw in before we call it a day?
I thought it
Oh,
might be good to give a. Can you hear me?
again, hi.
Sorry. I thought it might be good to give a recap of two pieces of automation that we added last year. One, the adding users via Netid,
Ah.
and then the self-service plugin, just as a reminder for folks.
Okay. All right. The first one's easy. Adding users by Netid. For those of you who are admins of your site, we used to field numbers of these requests on a daily basis of adding people to your site. You as administrators have always had that ability to do that, but we simplified it even more by just simply adding the value of add by Netid. So if you go to users and then add by Netid, all you need to know is a person's Netid and then assign them the role that they need to have. It's not, the drop down doesn't show up in the stream. That's weird. well, the drop down that appears here will have editor, administrator, author, contributor, subscriber, etc. You choose whatever role it is that you want them to have. You click add user. It adds them to your site, and that's that. It's a pretty straightforward process. All right, let me think about the other one because I'm logged in as me, so it's not as easy to just do that. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and let's just get rid of you, show you. Okay, so I'm in as my my test user. So the other aspect of this is the self-service plugin functionality. So when you're logged into your dashboard, you can go to plugins, and you have to give it a second minute to load because it is querying the database for all these. So this does take a few minutes. But in here, you'll see all of the active plugins within your site, as well as plugins that you as an administrator can activate or deactivate. So just for example, the big ones are ones that we tried to get out there early, which is Gravity Forms, Events Calendar, and WP Data Tables. Those are things with people have requested, so we wanted to make it easy for them. And then we've just been activating more as we have been able to test them. Some of these things have dependencies in the background that we have to make sure process correctly before they can be activated. And so, things like publications, we need to make sure that there was another step that happened in the background before it could be activated. So, but this is how you as admins can do this. So, yep, those are two of the things that are quality of life updates. So let's see here. Colleen, to your question, hold tight. We don't. So WiscWeb, we haven't been in a great number of the conversations when it comes to Salesforce. We've been in conversations where it relates directly to WiscWeb, so some integration type things. But Salesforce as a whole and what will be offered and what will be available, we don't really have much information to share on that, unfortunately, and we kind of have to yield to whenever that group decides to start doing their informational sessions. More information will come out about that. So hang on to that question. That's not a unique question. I just don't have a definitive answer on it yet because we just don't know. We don't know what will happen when. To Kristen's question, I've been using Firefox the whole time that you've been watching this, so I'm not sure. Jenna's troubleshooting that right now, but I would check version. I would say try closing it, opening it up again. I would also say try going into a private browser window to see if it's a caching issue that you're running into there. And then Janae, your question earlier, introductory training. So introductory training is a difficult thing to do virtually because whenever I would do the trainings, I would do them in a sandbox environment that was controlled by me, and I could unbreak, all the things that happened within that sandbox environment. It's a little bit more difficult to do that in this way. So one of the things that I do have out there is if you go to the WiscWeb site, wiscweb.wisc.edu, and you go under training, there are the beginner videos right under there. And these 3 videos are essentially the 3 sections of the training that I provide in person. So it's the same training, it's just via the video instead of in person. And so I would say take a look at those first, And then once you've had a chance to take a look at the videos and you have more specific questions about how to do things, reach out to me and we can set up a one-on-one time and I can walk you through whatever it is that you might want to learn. And that'd be true for anybody. I've interacted with a great number of you to just kind of do like quick walkthroughs of, how do I do this? How do I do that? Um, and then the hope is to just do maybe some more training in the future for things like more Google Analytics stuff. There's lots of stuff that I'd love to show you guys. It's time to deliver. That's usually it. Okay, any other questions from the gallery? Because we're at 12:52. The text isn't moving. Oh, now you guys can see all the nonsense that happens on my screen. Okay, so I guess we'll call it there. Again, be on the lookout for an email from us next week covering two topics. One will be the theme update that's happening, and then also the Open Lab sign up form. That one will probably come out later in the week. It'll probably be a Google Doc again for people to fill in a name. Otherwise, that's really it. That's all we have. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, ask them. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. That's all we've got for today. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.